It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the King's University's head cheerleading coach, Coach Mary Edward. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college cheerleading?
Sure. So it was kind of, I guess it fell into my lap. We could say I went to undergrad for political science, and then I found myself in law school. Fast forward through the years, and I got married, became a mom, and just sitting at home wasn't for me. And so I started coaching for Champions in Motion, which is a nonprofit all-star cheer group, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. One of our family friends was the head coach at King University for soccer and reached out saying they were looking for an assistant coach. I applied, and after talking with our our athletic director, David Hicks, he said, "Hey, how about the head position instead?" And from that point on, I absolutely loved it, and I'm so glad my path has led me to King and as a cheer coach. But no, it has never been on my radar. I didn't think it was something I could do.
What was that experience like going to St. Mary's and being a cheerleader for St. Mary's?
Absolutely. So in high school, I was a cheerleader for, I'm actually from Texas. So when you talk about hard cheerleading, you live, eat, breathe it. That's what I came from. When I went to St. Mary's, it was a small private Catholic university. I didn't know they had cheer. And after probably about a semester, one of the cheerleaders was like, "You have to try it. You have to come try out." They heard about my background. They were working on going to nationals, and so I gave it a shot, and I loved it. We all came from different cheer backgrounds. We all had different experiences, different talents. So you weren't just on a team that everyone had standing fools or everyone had gone to nationals. It was really, really interesting watching us all evolve in our own way in such a small university. The other thing was the coach was great, but she just kind of did it to help us out. So we really, really took it upon ourselves eventually to run the team. And you talk about having to have teamwork. There's nothing like being on a team with someone and we all want to be the coach. So it learned a lot. I learned a lot of patience and standing back and watching, which I think has helped in my coaching career.
Of course, what was that experience like coming from Texas and being a part of a big cheerleading culture in Texas?
It for me, it's a story I love to share. I didn't grow up wanting to be a cheerleader. I saw them, I was a little girl, like, look at the beautiful cheerleaders and the dance teams. And I never really got into gymnastics or tumbling. And middle school rolled around, and I decided I want to be a cheerleader. And in Texas, you don't just decide you want to be a cheerleader, you are trained from day one. And so I'm very thankful for my parents. They're very honest with me. So when I tried out and didn't make it in middle school, they told me that I was terrible and I needed to work on it. And I'm not just going to get handed anything. And I started all star cheer. I never made it in middle school, but I did by my final year in middle school, all star cheer. We won a national championship. And this is how nerve wracking it was. In middle school, we had to try out in front of our entire class and they voted. And if you want to talk about anxiety, full speed ahead, I mean, that was terrible, but I survived. And it made me realize, yeah, I will take the criticisms and this is what I want to do. And so I made it my freshman year on our high school team, which has been known nationally, Cal Allen High School, for so many years. And it's so cool to be part of the legacy. I go back and watch some of my videos now and see how advanced we were. And I mean, we fought tooth and nail for our position, and then you just never gave up. And it makes you strong mentally, emotionally, physically. We were out there doing 2-a-days in the South Texas heat with the football team. We were little soldiers, and I loved it. I loved it. And so going from that and then being a little bit more relaxed in college, I think that maybe is what has also helped me as a college coach take the edge off of like the militant style, which I can get. But yeah, I think the two worlds have really balanced me out.
What was that experience like for you to get to put on that uniform in college for St. Mary's?
I never thought again. I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself growing up. I was quiet. I was the jokester because that's kind of how, which I still am, how I made friends and connections. And so I just never thought that was something I could accomplish. I grew up going to University of Texas games and watching those cheerleaders and, you know, um, man, that could never be me. And so when I tried out and I made it and I through the skills that I had, the tumbling and the stunts, I realized that all along I could have accomplished anything I wanted to. Everyone around me believed in me. I just had to believe in myself. So, yeah, I mean, I remember putting that uniform on, and that was before selfies and all of that stuff. So, I think my roommate and I probably had a disposable camera, and we took our first picture in our dorm room with our uniforms on. And I have that picture to this day.
Of course, during your college time, what was that like getting to compete for the NCAA nationals?
It was a wild ride. Back then, there weren't these things like Netflix, and I think Facebook was probably just coming around. So you didn't have the glitz and the glamour like you do now. But again, that's the big stage. That's where you want to go. And I think the cool thing for me is we were not the top dogs, we were the underdogs, and it didn't matter. We were just so excited and felt so accomplished to share the stage with the cheerleaders and the teams that we idolized. And again, I mean, it just kept feeding into this love that I have of cheer and dance. And you talk about, I almost, as my athletes still make fun of me, but I remember coaching our first time we went to nationals, and they walked out on that stage, and I actually had to like almost sit down because I thought I was going to pass out because wow, chills. I mean, maybe we win, maybe we wouldn't, but here's my little team from this D2 university on it at the band shell on this mat. And it was, now we're ready to win. That was just like the first step into we're ready to go. But it's so cool to see both sides, be the athlete and now be the coach.
As a cheerleader, what was that experience like for you to get to compete in Daytona Beach at the NCAA nationals?
And if I ever start crying, I apologize. I'm a woman, and so I tend to tear up at these things, the memories. So I was the only child. My mom and dad went, and even my grandpa came up to watch us. And my mom, about it'll be 7 years in October, she passed from Alzheimer's. And so one of the memories I remember is my mom there, and of course my dad and everyone, but just her walking with me. And I love my family more than anything, so yes, as a college kid I was probably walking down the beach holding my mom's hand, just taking it all in. And these experiences that at the time you're so stressed out, and oh my gosh, what if we lose, what if we look stupid, they're running through your heads. And now I sit here and I just remember this beautiful moment with my mom, and we're sitting on the beach and we're watching everyone with their trophies, and how proud she was of me. And I will hold on to that memory every time I stand um, at the side of the mat now at Daytona. I know she's with me, and I'm so excited that I got to keep a memory with her, was something that I love, because she had Alzheimer's. So I'd always tell her, I'd be like, Mama, I'm a coach now, because she loved it. Oh, when I coached All Stars, she was starting to get very confused, but oh, she would light up at the practices and when I went to competition. And so having that full circle, with my family has been such a blessing.
course, coming out of college, what was that like getting into your coaching career and coming into the All Stars to coach?
Absolutely. So during college and in law school, I worked for a couple of different companies, varsity, as well as spirit event coordinators. I would teach routines, I would judge. So it was always kind of a little bit part of my life. But taking off strictly mom, wife hat at the time and getting back into something, I mean, it was like, okay, this is where I'm meant to be, the creative side, the kind of militant leader side. But bigger for me, I was taking these kids who felt like they didn't have the chance to ever experience cheer or competition, do it. And that was so cool. You don't think you're inspiring anyone, but at the end of the day, some of the messages and stuff that I get from these kids or their parents just saying, my daughter thought she could never do this, and now she's applying for universities, and because of you she's going to this university, or she's still with cheer. And I love those stories. I think one of the coolest things ever is when my team, again, we got a wild card for my all-star team, and nationals was at Disney World. And so some of these kids had never ever left the Tri-Cities area. And so here I am preparing them to take the national stage. And I started reaching out to Disney and talking to their executives. And, through Champions in Motion and myself, we set up a parade down Main Street for these cheerleaders who were coming from North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee. And again, you talk about chills. They are closing down Disney Main Street, and here are these kids who thought they would never be in this position, marching down Main Street, taking the national stage. And my team won fourth. I was so proud of them. It was hilarious. They called fifth place, which wasn't last, but they only announced fifth through first. And my team started standing up, and I was like, no, that's not us. Sit down. And they're like, oh, so we lost. And I was like, no, when we're on the stage, we got above fifth. And I mean, the tears. And when they called fourth place, it was, you talk about inspirational, and it was absolutely, I mean, I will, if I ever forget that, I'm gonna be so sad, because just seeing those faces that's why you do it. You do it for them. I don't do this for myself.
Of course, what was that experience like getting to coach the All Stars?
um I think doing all-star cheer, especially at the level that I did, it wasn't a varsity team. It wasn't a huge team. It's a nonprofit organization. I love Lisa Hood, Dakota Hood, Dalton, all of the hoods. They are in charge of this nonprofit, and they really, really said, this is your team. We trust you. Do the best that you can. We're here for you, but build your program. And I've never stepped into a position where I built something from basically the ground up. And that just, I mean, it taught me so much. And, now you're dealing one-on-one with parents. So you really start to learn how to read situations, put fires out before they start, and help everyone see what the main goal is. And well, yes, it is winning. It is my team confident in themselves? Is my team healthy and safe? Is my team loving what they're doing? Because that's when it's fun. And who wants to go to a job miserable? Nobody. So I want everyone to have fun and set their goals, and I'm here to help them do it. And yeah, this is from King, but winning some big jewelry helps too.
Of course, what was that experience like getting to become the volunteer assistant at Milton University?
So again, someone just had reached out and they said, you'd be great in a college position, or you'd be great going up the ladder per se. I didn't know how to do it. What does that even look like? And so I reached out to the Milligan coach and I said, if you need me, I'm here. And it took some time, and they reached back out, and she was like, yeah, I would love to have you help, mainly with stunting and dances. Do you want to come on board? We can't pay you. And I said, absolutely, let's go. And again, I instantly fell in love with the team. I learned so much. I stood back and I watched and I drank up as much knowledge as I could. And when I was asked to do something, I was the first one there. But I always made it known that this wasn't my team. I'm here to help. I'm here to build, because I wanted to have that relationship with a coach where she could be open and transparent with me, because that's when you learn the most, when you have that trust. And so I mean, I appreciate her opening that door to me. And then, unfortunately, my time there didn't last very long because my mom got sicker with Alzheimer's. So I stepped back to help her, but it was enough to light the fire and start helping open these doors.
What were some of the things that you learned there as a volunteer assistant to then help you to make that jump to become a head coach?
Absolutely. Recruiting was a big thing. What does it look like for a game day at a university? How do you juggle coaching these kids who have school on their mind, jobs? I mean, they're becoming adults. But I think the biggest part was just getting the inside look of how a college athletic department runs, because you really become a team with the other coaches. You are all there for the same reason, and that is to promote and grow the athletics department. And so, how can you be stern and make it known that your team is the most important one is what I might have an issue with doing sometimes. But also realizing that each and every coach feels the same way about their athletes and their team. So learning to show grace has been big as well.
What was that feeling like for you to come to King's University to become their next head coach?
I think I had to like pinch myself a couple of times. I remember hanging up the phone, and my dad instantly, because he was there with me, and instantly how was it, and I was like, Dad, I got the job. I was like, Dad, I'm a college coach, like I'm a D2 college head coach, like this is so big in my world. Because I mean, like I said, a little girl just watching the cheerleaders and idolizing the coaches, and here I am, and now I'm one of them. And your brain just starts going, and it's like, how can I make this the best program that ever was? How do I leave my legacy? Because I don't want to just be known as like, oh yeah, that cheer coach and dance coach from King University. I want to leave something behind that people look at and they're like, man, she was passionate. She was here for King. She was here for athletes, and look at what she did and look at what she built. And so yeah, I mean, my brain just started going 100 miles a minute. And of course, the one side of me too is like, oh, I get to design uniforms and all of that, make up your routines. But at the end of the day, it's how do I leave a legacy? Because that's ultimately what I want to do. I want people to go to King and want to be part of what I built.
Of course, after stepping on to King, what was that first feeling like getting to lead that program in cheerleading?
It was a little bit intimidating. I am only 5 foot tall, so the majority of my athletes are taller than me, and I often get mistaken for one of the students. If you're looking at me from behind, I'm old in the face, but apparently I have very youthful hair. But it was intimidating. These I had very strong athletes from the very first day, both cheer and dance, and they had no idea who I was. I wasn't well known in the area for anyone. Um, I just I had to walk on and realize that it wasn't about demanding respect. It was about earning it. And to earn it, I had to prove to them that I knew what I was doing. I deserved to be there. That was my biggest thing. And I have to say, looking back, I am so appreciative of my year one athletes for their grace, for having my back. I mean, we joke and we say that King University Cheer and Dance, we're like a little gang, and we might get mad at each other, but no one should come for us because we will be hot on their tail. And I really appreciate them being there for me. And there were times when, you step on a university and they tell you as much as they can, but everyone's moving 100 miles an hour. And so I may not have known the ins and outs of procedures, and someone gets mad at me and I instantly panic, and my team just saying, take a deep breath. You're doing great. And so it's nice to have a team that lifts you up as much as you want to lift them up.
Of course, coming to Kings, what was that experience like getting to coach cheerleaders and getting to go to the basketball games?
So I love game day. Not a whole lot of our fans get to go to our competitions. And again, when I came on board, there really weren't any guidelines. This is how you have to do it. It was, here's a blank slate, Mary, like build. And like I was saying before, that's what I love to do. And one thing I'm very big on is I don't want my athletes, my dance team or my cheer team to feel like this is mine. They're just part of it, but this is mine. I want them to feel part of it. So a couple things I would do is I'd say, all right, give me your ideas, send me your music, like let's do this together. And I found that especially the dance team, I mean, anytime I was like, all right, you want to make choreography, let's do it together. And we all put on a song and start doing choreography and figuring it out together. I mean, they have so much more pride in what they're doing on the court than if I were just standing up there chirping at them. So it was really, really fun to start, putting together these game days, and what does the crowd want? What do they love? And just the feedback I got back from them was phenomenal. I mean, they were like, they loved it. They were like, we never went to a game and someone told us we had to go check it out. And they were like, you all added so much. And I do love the feedback, because if we're not getting the crowd riled up and ready to go, we're not doing our job. If, they're just having to watch the referees kind of stand there while we're at a timeout, we're not doing our job. So I definitely love putting on that performance. And I tell my team, pretend you're on the big stage, pretend you're at nationals, put on a performance. That is your job. So I love it. I love the creative side.
Of course, what has that been like, obviously getting to coach the cheerleaders, but not just the cheerleaders, the dance team too?
At first it was a hard thing to juggle just because gym space, like so many coaches struggle with, where's our team going? We're all trying to respect each other's time to practice. That in the beginning, I held dance practice and cheer at the same time. I realized that they weren't getting enough of my attention per team. And so we started to break it up, and it worked perfectly. They still feel like they're part of the family, both teams. They all get along for the most part so wonderfully. But they now feel like we are two separate teams, we're two separate entities. And it's so neat to watch like the different atmospheres. Dance is 9 times out of 10 bubbly, upbeat, giggly, lighthearted. And then you go over to the cheer side and they're still the same way, but usually if there's going to be an issue, it's going to be over there, and we're going to have to take 5 minutes for someone to have their, oh, I can't do this moment. And I tell them, you got this. You wouldn't be on this team if you didn't. So I also feel like having the two at first, well, it was very almost stressful and how I'm going to do it. It has leveled me out because I have best of both worlds on both sides. And I love using the different techniques and choreography, and again, getting to be creative in so many different ways. I think that really has helped me coach both.
What does a typical competition look like for the cheerleaders versus for the dance team?
So for our cheerleaders, if we're doing Daytona Beach Nationals, it's 2-day. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to take my dance teams to competitions yet, although I look and I watch. We're working on growing our dance team, and it is becoming larger and larger every year, and the skill is getting stronger and stronger. So this is the year that we are at least going to conference with dance. But usually at nationals, you have 2 days. For dance, you're going to do two different styles of dance for competition. For cheer, you just use the one routine. So there's that difference. And then for our conference dance, it is a mixture of styles, one routine, 1 day. Also at conference, again, one routine, 1 day. So there are some similarities. The difference is just again style, type of music, and that's pretty much the right now the biggest difference.
What was that experience like in 2020 going to the NCAA National Championship?
Terrifying. um, Majority of my team had never cheered before. And, we're coming off of COVID and all the weird rules and regulations for practices. And we are a D2 team. So I don't have the luxury like some of these bigger teams who have a bunch of alternates or backups. It's what you see is what you get, guys. Let's do this. And unfortunately, 2 weeks before we went to nationals, one of our strongest athletes decided to leave King University altogether, and because of family, which is completely understandable. But there I am going, oh my God, we have 4 practices until nationals. What am I going to do? And we did our best. Did we win? No. Were we in top 10? Yes. But I go back and I looked at, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I took them, and I'm glad they felt failure. I'm glad I felt failure. That's how you grow. That's how you learn. And so it was terrifying. It was disappointing because I knew they could have done it, but nerves got the best of them. The hurdles we had to jump over were a little bit more daunting than I wanted them to be. But at the end of the day, life is about lessons. And if we won every time we step foot in life, whether it's a raise or a competition, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, that actually might be phenomenal. That would be so much less stressful, but it's not realistic. So part of being my team is learning what real life is like. How does it feel? And unfortunately, we depend on each other for cheer and for dance. One person's gone, we don't compete. One person's gone, we have to change our routine, and we don't have the outcome we want. But you're gonna take the mat and you're gonna be proud of yourself, because not every team at the college level is given this opportunity.
Of course, what was that 2021 season like going to the Conference Carolinas Championship?
That was, again, another stressful. We always have, there's always some hurdle. I always My team and I always say, if we ever just have a smooth sailing season, something's wrong. But overcoming hurdles and really becoming a team, and they trusted me. That was the big thing. They trusted my expertise. They trusted my decisions. And so it was year one. No one really knew what to expect. We didn't know what other teams looked like. And so it's kind of going in blind. And I was like, here we go. We can only do our best. 3 minutes before we took the stage, I changed my mind about a stunt, and I changed it right there on the mat. And they all looked at me like I was absolutely insane. They went out, they did it, and we won first place. We won overall high score throughout the entire competition, and that's what made us the champions. And then we also won first place in co-ed advanced. So I think that's a huge thing too, is your team trusts you. They can be unstoppable. And so that, I remember, like, we're sitting there and we're holding hands and no one really knows what's going to happen. And they said our names, and I do it for that 1 second right before it hits them that they won, that like pause of, wait, what? I love seeing those faces, and then just the tears and the parents, and the excitement, and them realizing it was all worth it. It was super cool. And then, of course, like I said, you get a little bit of bling, a couple of trophies, and it again, it was so worth it. And that's why I get up every day and I have my coffee and I think about how can I be a better coach? What can I do better than last year? And how do I keep helping my teams win?
Of course, for you, what was that feeling like when you did get announced to become the champ and you received that ring?
Um, it was again one of those moments that you imagine in your head. I'm driving to work and, oh my gosh, what would I feel like? What would the atmosphere? And then it happens and it's, the first time we ever did our full routine again was on the competition mat. I think maybe we had done it once or twice before. So you're just kind of like, these amazing athletes went out there and then they just did what they were trained to do. And for me, the win is such a highlight, but a realizing that they accomplished their goal, that I helped them accomplish their goal. And even bigger than that, this memory that will stick with them forever. It's just it again, a full circle kind of moment. But yeah, the chills, the tears. My daughter was with me, and so she used to cheer for me, and now she's my shadow at most competitions and practices and stuff. So seeing her look up at me with such pride, my friends and family who watched it online texting me, our athletic director David Hicks saying, oh my gosh, y'all blew us away. I'm getting so many comments on it. You don't do this for the pats on the back, but when you get recognized for all your hard work, it really feels nice.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built for the cheerleading program and for the dance program?
Absolutely. My number one thing is I want my athletes to feel confident and safe and listened to. We really become a family. We have this family atmosphere. On the other side of it, too, I'm this little Texas coach who is, I think people usually say I'm a little firecracker. So I want them to understand respect for themselves, respect for their team, respect for their university, and respect for me. And so it's a lot of balls that you're juggling to help motivate these kids and help build their confidence and keep them safe. And I want them to know that this is their safe place. Come have fun. Like, this should not be so horribly stressful that like you can barely walk in the gym door. And when they get like that, I'm like, take a deep breath. Like, this is so much fun. This is so much fun. And that's really what it is about for me. Is I want them to know that they are genuinely loved. I love each and every one of them like they're my kids. I'm divorced now, so if I ever go out on a date, I always warn the person eventually that I have like 75 kids now, and that they're probably going to be calling and texting like throughout the dinner. But I want them to feel like they're part of this family. I want their parents to feel like they're part of this family. I also want them to feel like if they don't want a close relationship with me, if I am their coach and that's it, they are here to get a job done, I respect that. But if they need me to be their shoulder to cry on, or, oh my gosh, how do I pass chemistry? And in that case, I'd be like, I have no idea. I don't think I ever took chemistry in college, thank God. But just to help them, guide them, and, become the best, decent, good human beings they can be. And well, they're building these great personalities and storing all this knowledge to do good in our community and our world when they graduate, that they're also becoming the best athletes that they can be.
Of course, what does that tryout process look like for those prospective cheerleaders and prospective dance?
So for me, I have tried, after COVID, I switched things around. I've tried having in-person tryouts. A lot of the times then you're juggling, especially at a D2 university, you're juggling interested athletes schedules. So if I say, hey, this is our tryout, that's it, no more, if only 5 people can make it, it really doesn't strengthen our team. So I do a lot of Zoom face-to-faces. I ask for videos of your current skills, dance current skills, cheer current skills, and then a little synopsis on why you want to cheer in college, what you think you can bring to the team, and what do you expect. And then from there, that we kind of talk about competition, sideline, and is King the place for them. And that's my basically that's how you try out for King, and it's worked really, really well for me. And I think it also takes a lot of that fear off of prospective athletes' shoulders, and they're more inclined to reach out to me versus if it is a hours long process of trying out, and what if I don't make it? I don't want them to feel that stress. I'll stress them out when they're on the team and on my mat and in my gym, but until then, they don't need the stress.
Of course, when doing the trials, what are some of the things that you look at in those prospective cheerleaders to make that King's roster?
Absolutely. So for dance, obviously, dance background and dance knowledge. I do have a lot of color guard, high school color guard girls reach out to me. And while they are phenomenal athletes, I try to let them know that this is very different from that. So I really look for a strong dance background. We do hip hop, we do lyrical, jazz. So if someone's coming on my team and now that I'm older, I can't do all the movements like my team can. So it helps build a strong college dance team when they're coming, knowing the terminology, knowing where your legs are supposed to be in turns. And, for same thing with tricks, the flips, the head springs, I can get out there and do it, but I'm, again, the same size as they are. So I'm always like, I'll flip you, but I don't know if we'll both live. But so that's my biggest thing is, and they have to be open to all styles of dance. If I have someone that says, I only like to dance this is the only type I want to do, I don't ever want to do palm, then we're not for you, because we hit on everything from hip hop to Latin. We throw all the flavors in there. It is fun and exciting. And so that's a big thing for me is you have to be open and you have to have the confidence. You're coming to a college, you are going to get out in front of your college peers, and you're going to be recorded for broadcasts. So I need you to be confident in the dance, because the ones that come and they aren't confident in themselves and they don't allow me to help them build that confidence, you can spot them like a sore thumb on the court. And I hate taking people off court if they just aren't reaching the bar. And then for cheer, it used to, when I first started coaching, I wanted cheer background. We were a new team. We hadn't really done any competitions. I hadn't made a name for myself. I don't know if I have yet, but hopefully we're getting there and it's a positive one. But I would take anyone that had sideline experience, because I know I can coach on dance and cheer. I know I can coach. I know I can create an athlete from someone that might not have the background of a cheerleader that's been accepted to University of Kentucky. I know I can do it. Now, as we move forward and the skills are getting more difficult, my athletes are more and more advanced. I really look for tumbling, back handsprings, back tucks. We're getting to the point where we're getting more and more fools on our team. So strong tumbling, and then advanced stunts. We're flipping them upside down, doing rewinds from the ground to the top. And so again, where I'm willing to coach that, when you get into some of those big flipping and rotating stunts, you want people with the confidence that if something goes wrong, that everyone's still safe.
Of course, as a head coach, what is it like seeing your cheerleaders and your dance athletes put on that uniform for the first time?
It is, it just makes me smile. A lot of them, are like, I never thought I'd be on a college cheer team. I never thought that I would be on a college cheer team that goes to nationals and conference, and the way they light up. And then again, seeing the parents. I just signed this summer this girl who she turned 16 in July, so she is so stinking smart. And I remember handing her uniform over to her, and she's just like, can I go put this on right now real quick? Can I put it on? I was like, of course. And like her mom had tears in her eyes, which then made me have tears in her eyes. And just the pride that they have in putting on a King uniform, whether it's dance or cheer, is so like it warms your heart every single time. And again, they become like my kids, so I almost feel like I'm the mom. And that first picture we take, team picture, the first time I see them all dressed up for a game, it and then of course when my athletes graduate and leave me and hand the uniforms back, that's when the waterworks really begin.
Of course, what is that like, obviously, seeing your cheerleaders after their senior year go on and do things like go into professional cheerleading and professional dancing?
I haven't had any go that route, but I have quite a few put on the hat of coach. And well, taking the steps into the professional world is such an amazing feat. Seeing these athletes become coaches is a little bit more of a pride thing for me than even seeing them go to the cheer for the NFL or something like that. And it is so funny when they're like, oh my gosh, you will not believe what my team did or what they said. And I just sit back and I'm like, oh, you remember that time you did that exact same thing? Or they're like, oh yeah, I was doing this and I told them that. And they're like, and I took a step back and I was like, oh my God, I sound exactly like Coach Edwards. And so for me, I love watching that. Again, I'm huge on academics. Like if you come be part of my team, you better be making the grades. And so, I have one girl right now who's top of her class in law school, and she is killing it. And her goal is to be president of the United States. And that for me is where I get the chills of, because they're taking their big personalities and all of the tools they've learned on my mat at the practices to be these strong, independent men and women and go after their dreams and be the absolute best they can be. And then I see them doing it in the real world. It's super cool. I mean, again, I never thought I'd be here. I never thought this would be my path. And the passion and the love that I have for both cheer and dance, King University, and my athletes, it just, yeah, even on my stressful days when I just want to hang my head and throw my hands in the air, like I start thinking about little things and I can't help but smile.
Of course, what are some of your future plans with the cheerleading and dancing program at Kings?
So again, to continue to grow the dance program is super high on my list. I want to see them at Conference Carolinas, and I want to see them competing at nationals. That has got to be probably number one for me right now. And then for my cheer team, just we're co-ed right now. We have two boys, but I would really love to grow our co-ed division. So getting more males on our team, and then yeah, just more rings on my finger would be phenomenal.
Of course, what advice would you give those prospective student athletes looking to go into college cheerleading and dancing?
Mine is, the minute you find a program that you're interested in, reach out to the coach. We have so much going on that, let me know you're interested. Let me know you want to be here, and that puts you on my map. Do your research. What is the program like? Where do they compete? Um, you know, have already know what kind of the base of the cheer or dance team is that you're looking at, and start working on those skills. Start videotape when you were terrible all the way up till you're great. Show us how your skills build. Show me your passion. Show me why you want to be on this team. And then bigger than that is, I would tell high schoolers, start to work on your emotions. You're coming into a big emotional world. You are becoming an adult. Learn to work with others. Learn to show grace. Learn to become independent on time management. We're not here to babysit you. We're here to help you reach your goals. And it gets a little bit, sterner than maybe in college. I'm still here for them. I still love them, but I swear if they don't look at my calendar and know when and where to be someplace, they're going to get the look that apparently sends chills down their spine, because Coach Mary is not going to check up on them and be like, unless I'm worried about their safety, but I'm not gonna be like, hey, did you forget where you were supposed to be? I'd really like you to come to my practice today. So just be learning to become a responsible athlete at the end of the day. Make priorities.
What advice would you give those college seniors looking to go into being professional cheerleaders or dancers?
Absolutely. I think, again, you need to look at the program you're interested in. What are they looking for? Look at past season, look at present seasons, reach out to alumni, reach out to people on the current team. What did they do? How did they get there? People have already written the path to achieving what you want to achieve. Use their knowledge. I mean, as a coach now, I don't know everything. I will reach out to anybody and everyone to get more knowledge to help my kids get to where they want to be. So don't be afraid. Ask the questions, ask the good questions, ask the stupid questions, because you're going to learn something and it's going to get you into the spot. Also, watch your social media, watch what you're doing. People are always watching you if you are in the spotlight in any way, shape, or form. Don't lose the opportunity to do something that you love because you could have gotten 14 likes from 7 people who probably don't even like you. So that would be my tip is, do everything for yourself.
What advice would you give those cheerleaders looking to go play professionally in the NFL or NBA?
It's tough. I mean, there is so much skill out there, so much skill. That is everyone's dream. I mean, I'm 5'1", and if I were a 5'1" boy, I'd be like, yeah, I could dunk. I've got this, but be realistic. I know that I could never jump that high, whether I was a girl or a boy. It's not going to happen. But what is the NFL or the NBA lacking that you can bring to the table? What is your specialty? And then master that skill while working on everything else, because you have to be so good that they can't ignore you. That is what you have to do, because everybody wants that spot. Why do you deserve it? Why is that spot for you? It's not luck, it's hard work that gets you there.
What advice would you give those college cheerleading coaches out there looking to become head coaches and run their own cheerleading program?
Be willing to start at the bottom. There are some people that can step into the role easily, but you learn so much more starting as an assistant than you ever could just being thrown in to a head coach position, is my personal opinion. I learned so much from Milligan. I learned so much from my time at varsity. I learned so much time of, if I didn't get the position I wanted, standing next to my coach on the sidelines observing. That I would say, if this is what you want to do, reach out to a coach. Say, hey, can I come help? Can I come stand there? Can I come watch? And just soak up that knowledge. If you're able to step off the mat and into a head coach's position, hats off to you, but be willing to take the lowest position with the smallest pay and willing to work your behind off to get to the top. And that's just my mentality, is work harder than the person next to you.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find the King's University cheerleading and dancing program at on social media along with you at?
So we're on Facebook. We have our King University dance team. Facebook page. We have also a cheer. On Instagram, we are King University Cheer and Dance. And then you can go through our athletic page, which would be kinguniversityathletics.com.
Thank you again, Coach Mary Edwards, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the cheerleading and dancing program at King's University.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Mary Edwards, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you so much.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.